Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to conversation number 9. Today I have my first couple on as a guest, so it's very exciting. These Jake and Whitney. Now they are co-founders and CEOs of Fit Bar in Austin, Texas, and they're also health coaches, life coaches, you name it, a plethora of other phenomenal, positive, and influential things that they do. So without further ado, welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks. Here we are. So excited to be here.
Yeah, no, like I said, it's just incredible. Like, I'm always so pumped for everybody that comes on to the show, but to have two people on at once and two people that definitely accentuate the other, and really help build the other one up, as well as we, kind of talked before, have that individuality as well, is super incredible. And you guys were perfect guests for the show because you guys are doing so many things as well as Fit Bar, but you have your own YouTube channel and you put out good information on that. You put out great information on Instagram, any kind of social media. So thanks so much for giving me the time to help share that and disseminate your own information.
Man, that's nice. Thanks. I like this. I like the start of this conversation. No problem at all.
Yeah. So you guys just sit here for we'll just talk. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So no, like I was telling Nate in last conversation, like it's so easy. You guys make it so easy. My guests make it so easy to talk about them because they're really, truly doing great things. So I mean, it's easy.
Oh, well, you too.
Well, yeah.
It's awesome that you started this.
Yeah, we're excited. We've been listening to some of your conversations too. I'm kind of excited to be on this side of the conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's been a struggle. So this is obviously number 9, and every single conversation has been a technical struggle because, as I've said a million times, I figure more and more things out along the way. But I'd like to think by the time I've gotten here, I think Nate's was like the first perfect one, and that took me 8 times. So talk about trying and failing repeatedly. I mean, there was always something wrong. So here we are, conversation number 9. Pumped to have you guys, and it looks like everything's going well so far. So.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, I brought you guys on because I want to talk about you. And what really intrigued me about you guys was, as well as having your individuality, like I kind of just talked about, you also have that mutual relationship that really helps the other. So I kind of wanted to talk about how you guys kind of got on the journey that you're on now and how you've continued to evolve. And I know, like, I've kind of talked with myself, and of course with you guys, we have all those trials and tribulations that we have to go through as we progress through life, and it obviously etches out who we are. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about Whitney or Jake. Yeah,
I joined the journey a little bit later on, so she started it technically first on her own. So you started off, and then I'll kick in where I joined.
Yeah. So I would say that my journey really began when I always, kind of like you were saying, Chris, in your mid-20s, you realize that life was bigger than just your personal dream and journey. And so I started having this desire to help other people, but I was realizing that I had nothing to help people with because I hadn't really overcome anything. And so I was really involved in the nightlife, the drinking, and I woke up one day and just really felt flat, just like where's my life going? Why? I feel unfulfilled. And so I started digging a little bit deeper. I've always been a huge component of self-help books, and realized that, I need to get healthier. I need to kind of push to a new level of myself, although I had no idea what that meant or what that was.
Maybe slowly finding out that health just didn't mean the physical sense of it, like mentally trying to, because I think I read one of your recent posts where you were talking, it might have even been today, where you were talking about not only maybe you were like consistently working out, but it really was not doing anything, because if your mind's not there, then it's really if your mind's not there and you're continuously going out and drinking and not getting any sleep and you're tired all the time, then you can do, I think, most of all the working out you want to do, but it's really going to be not something that gets you really anywhere. At least it may get you there, but very, very slow. You're going to be working against yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, health definitely means more than subbing out broccoli for your French fries.
Yes.
Right.
There's a little more to it.
Yeah.
sometimes.
So when I started trying to get healthier, I was trying to ease out of the bar scene, the nightlife, because it was like happy hours during the weekdays and clubs during the weekends. I was in Chicago at that time, and all of a sudden I realized, like, man, I am lonely because no one wants to go run on Saturday morning. Yeah. Nobody wants to skip out on going to the bars on Friday. So really just feeling, if I'm going to be healthy, then I have to be able to be willing to do it on my own, or try and meet healthy people. But so long story short, I started a journey that helped me realize, do I want to sacrifice, like Jake was saying, more than just, and like you were saying, more than just the subbing out fries, broccoli for fries, but a lifestyle. Like, what kind of lifestyle do I want to be living?
It really has to be, and it's so hard, and it's not anything against those friends in that point in your life, because I know I saw a lot of it in my life as well. As you were just talking, I was thinking about myself, and I've never had a drug addiction or anything like that, but I think maybe like a lot of people in their lower 20s to mid 20s at least depend on alcohol to have a good time, and I was without a doubt one of those people that was depending on alcohol to have a good time. Like, I literally thought that I couldn't have a good time unless I was out getting drunk at a bar or something, right? So then when you're talking about, well, I want to go for a run, but nobody really wants to run with me, or eat healthier, or nobody wants to stay in on a Friday night and do something else, like, I can see that a lot in myself, and it's really hard to pull yourself away from that, because, like I said, I'm not a drug addict, but they always say, somebody that quits doing drugs, you can't put them back in the same situation or the same friends or the same circle that they were before, because they're going to be that much more likely to do it again,
Right.
So, like, yeah, those friends, there's nothing wrong with them. Like, you let them live their lives, of course, but at the same time, you want to do something different with your life, something that's better for you, for your body, for your mind, and it's hard to do that. And it sounds like you came to the realization that you had to do it by yourself, and that's really difficult to do. And that's why I'm so happy you have somebody like Jake in your life. That, I know you started the journey by yourself, like you said, which is, I think, without a doubt, one of the hardest parts. It's hard to maintain as well and to increase, but starting that journey, especially by yourself, is really hard.
Yeah, it was. And it was funny when Jake and I met, and I might be jumping ahead, but when we met, he never drank alcohol. And so on our first date, that was one of the, because I had given up alcohol for a year, and I was like, okay, so, making sure that our relationship would be the right kind of behavior and lifestyle, like you're talking about, Chris. I'm not going to want to start drinking again. And I was like, so how often do you drink? And he's like, I don't drink alcohol. I don't even like the taste. And I was like, okay, right. You're just a beer drinker?
Yeah, so you only drink beer?
And he's like,
so no beer or no liquor or no nothing?
No, nothing.
I genuinely don't like it.
Yeah, there's some people like that. It is what it is. And so, but probably Whitney's over here like, this guy is totally, bullshitting me or whatever or something.
Yeah, but what's funny is at the same time, I have a similar experience, because even though I don't drink, anyone else I've met ever, friendships or dating, they do. Yeah. Right? And so at the same point, I'm worried, like, because she keeps asking, like, so no alcohol? And I'm like, wow, is she really judging me for not drinking? Like, does she, do I need to, like, pretend I drink more, or is she gonna, like, not like me? I'm like, why is she asking this? It's so crazy to me, because it's funny, because even I have no experience out in the world with other people who don't drink. That's very rare too, even though I've had the experience my whole life.
It's crazy how that is. It's like you said, it's a rare thing, and that's pretty wild to me, because in my history, without going into it too much, alcohol has definitely been like one of the worst things that I've come upon, like, where you can just continuously get more and more twisted to where you don't even know what you're doing. And that's a scary thing, but to think that you guys are in a situation where you thought the other one, is like, there's no way this girl, there's no way this guy is like never drank, or he doesn't like drinking, or she, doesn't drink at all. And I can see how that could be kind of comedic when you guys came upon each other and first started dating.
It was a highlight to say the least of our first date.
Yeah.
I always believed that was the big strike, or the big blow in my favor was that I was like, oh, that's the only way that someone like me can even get the attention of a girl like this, was that I don't drink. So I was just lucky as could be that she had decided to stop drinking too.
Well, I'm sure there's a million other things, man, because this is the first time. This is the first time we're meeting. Again, quote unquote. But you're a super genuine guy, and you're super positive, and like I said already, I watch a lot of you guys' videos, and what medium it's on, and you guys just really mesh really well with each other, and you guys are just so positive, and just it can be tough to be in that position, especially when you've come from where you guys have come from. And I know sometimes, at least I used to think like, how can, not you guys, but like, how can people be so positive all the time, until I kind of got to where I am right now. And I think that's part of like the question I have, like, in your guys' journey, is a lot of it's reciprocated on my side, is like, how could these people be so positive all the time? And it's simple. It's a mindset. Exactly. However, it wasn't simple to get there, and I think it's just because of how, Whitney, you mentioned earlier, like, because you've overcome all these adversities and these challenges in your life, it allows you to be where you are now, and then look back over your shoulder and see, how much you've overcome, and how many struggles you've been able to push through to be able to get where you are now. And so I know, at least for myself, I'm much more appreciative of where I am now, and I know that's a huge part of it. So that's how I'm able to be. I'd like to think I'm positive most of the time, like with most people I meet, because you meet a lot of people, they're just like super negative. They always have something bad to say. And, it's like your mother always says, like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. But there's so much truth that rings to that. Because if you say something negative, it's not going to help the situation. But if you say something positive, you could definitely help somebody out, help them along their day. That might have been exactly what they needed to hear, So I don't know. They always talk about, if you ask somebody, on the street, hey, how you doing? But you genuinely do it. Maybe that's what that person needed to hear that day, or because they were having a terrible day. But you guys came by and were asking genuinely how their day was. And I think when you have two people that are genuinely positive people like you guys, that's the kind of impact you're making in the world right now on any medium that you're using.
Yeah, and that's been a lot of our own training. It's been a lot of our own training, is just the awareness that our brain likes to pick out what's wrong and what the negative is. And it's just, it's the way it's constantly experiencing the world. And so for us to come from a place of, okay, what kind of thoughts are going to serve us, and what kind of mindset will help us overcome difficult circumstances, that's like a deconditioning that takes a lot of effort.
No,
it's
that's
not like
a super good point. It's really difficult. Yeah, that's tough, because all you see, most of what you see, is negativity out there, on news or whatever you're looking at. And I guess, when you were talking, I was thinking a little bit as well, like, it's so much easier to complain about something. Like, when you go onto a medium like Yelp, like, it's all complaints. It's never like, this bar was, or this workout place was awesome, or whatever. It is, it's like that, but I'm saying a lot of times it's overwhelmingly negative, because it's so easy to say, like, if you go in to get some food, for example, and you get something that sucks, you're gonna be like, excuse me, like, this is terrible, I want to complain about it, I want to burn this place, like, whatever. But if it's really, you have a really good steak, you're not going to be like, oh, I need to get home and I need to write a review about how good the steak was.
Let me Yelp. No.
Exactly. Yeah. So I know what you're saying. Obviously I've given terrible examples yet again, but I get your point.
Well, one thing I noticed about it too is that it seems like in a society standpoint, that it's very common for people to want to criticize in order to appear to be an expert, like to show their expertise.
Yeah.
And so, like, if I know a lot about volleyball just from how I grew up. And so if I'm watching a volleyball match and someone says, oh, wow, that was a really good hit, for some reason it's tempting to be like, no, his arm was in the wrong spot. And this, like, negativity pops out.
It's so
to,
easy.
like, establish yourself as the expert. And I've always observed that as just such a strange, such a strange dynamic of social interactions of human beings in general.
So I don't really know why that is. Why do you think? Yeah, why do you guys think that is? I mean, why is it so easy for us as, like, humans, I guess, to be able to so critical immediately, as opposed to, like, oh man, that guy has a great spike, or that girl, her bump and setup is great. Like, I don't know. It's so easy to pick it apart, like you said, but off the top of my head, I'm not necessarily sure why that's the case. I mean,
I think that we have a misconception about how it makes us look. Mm-hmm. That somehow, in some the default mind thinking, you're like, well, if I'm saying they're down here, then that automatically is going to make me seem to be up here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's exactly flipped. That if I see something, think about it, like even watching like a sporting event, NFL game, anything that you see. Even seeing your YouTube channel and watching stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. I love the way he does this, and he splits the screen and he puts this over here. That automatically in anyone's mind makes me seem more knowledge. Like, the positivity is actually the way to not only the positivity but the authenticity, vulnerability of putting yourself out there and saying, hey, I really like this. And then for some reason that feels more exposed to judgment. That someone might think, you like it, what's the matter with you? You know?
Yeah. But it's hard. I mean, it takes a lot of humility to be like, man, maybe that person's doing something better than I am, so you have to, like, kind of succumb to the fact that maybe you're not at that level that person's at, and that's totally fine. Like you're saying, like, what kind of person does it make you to just critique everything? And you're right, it's the exact inverse. It puts you, like, beneath them.
And that's the observation that I've made, is that I've noticed that people who don't need to build themselves up, who genuinely have the credibility and who everyone agrees this person is elevated in whatever area this is, they're usually pretty positive.
Yeah.
It's only the ones that are trying to fake it that seem negative. The ones that really are legit, they're, like, willing to compliment because they're not afraid it's bringing them down. They're not, they don't have any of this piece of, like, I need to put this fake muscle.
And I think that goes back to them having to find themselves, like, Whitney was saying, like, you really have to, I guess a good way to describe it that first comes to my mind is have that confidence in yourself, right? But it's hard to have that confidence in yourself if you're dealing with a lot of stuff underlying, right? I think if you don't have that self-confidence, then you're not able to say, okay, that girl's a lot better at that than I am, or that guy's a lot better at that than I am. Because if you're confident with yourself, then you have no problem saying that. And that doesn't, coincide with arrogance, or it doesn't coincide with anything negative like that. I think it's very healthy to have a certain level of confidence about yourself. I mean, heck, I will say specifically in this YouTube channel, like, it's really difficult for me to talk to the camera. It's difficult for me to just know that I'm being recorded, but you just have to have some sort of confidence and just know that what you're saying is coming, from in here, and that you're passionate and you care about getting that information out of there. And I think, again, with repetition, at least in this instance, that it makes you better. So I think, again, like Whitney was saying, like, it's a lot of practice. It takes you a long way. It's a long journey to get you to that mindset where you really have that confidence and that self-confidence in yourself, to then you'll be able to get in positions where you're able to, call people out for what they're good at. And then, of course, I think even furthermore that makes you better, because, hey, if I'm looking at you guys' YouTube video, which you guys do a plethora of good things, way better than I, then I can be like, wow, they do this kind of edit, or they do this kind of, whatever. And I want to implement that in my videos as well. And you can pick apart the good things from people and not necessarily the bad things from people. Because maybe if you're consistently picking apart the negatives of people, that you're only going to consistently attract that negativity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to add that, I mean, we're all learning, and if we are not better, we're not getting better. And there's I have a coach, Brooke Castillo, that she's just like, she is where I hope to someday be, but she started where we are, in a sense, and she's constantly reminding all of her students that building self-confidence and building your conquering your dreams just comes from massive action and being willing to experience any kind of emotion. So that means rejection and fear and embarrassment. And if you can get around feeling those emotions and being okay with the discomfort, because nobody likes to feel rejected or embarrassed, then your dreams and achieving self-confidence is attainable. And I love that, because it gives me a lot of hope that, I don't have to be an expert in the next couple of years. I can just be a student and open about I'm figuring it out.
Yeah, for sure. Those are all really good points. That's great. And that leads even to another point of having a great mentor. That's pretty cool that you have somebody like that you can look for all that advice, and to see somebody at that level that you hope to aspire to be to, and then to be like, or hear her be like, I was just like this. It kind of gives you hope, because sometimes you see these people, and again, and I can only speak for myself, but you see these people at these levels and you're like, how did they ever get there? Or like, how are they so perfect? Or how do they, whatever. And it's really difficult. And of course, we all start in different places. That would be ridiculous to say that it's not a level playing field. And that's unfortunately just the way life is and the way the cards are dealt. However, I'd like to think, at least in America especially, we all have the option to be able to get to where we want to go as long as we put in the hard work. And that's a huge, huge point that I always try to drive home in this channel, and which you guys are really helping me drive home. And Whitney, you were saying, like, you have to really be comfortable with your emotions, all of them, the good ones and the bad ones. And it's so hard dealing with the bad ones sometimes. But it's all molded together. Like, being able to deal with those bad emotions are kind of tied into being able to have that self-confidence. And if you don't have any one of those, like if you're missing a tire off your car, like, it's going to make for a bumpy ride, but slowly, you put a little bit more air in all your tires and you have a more smooth ride. So it's pretty incredible. I mean, I don't know. That's cool. See, that's exactly what I'm talking about when I want to ask about people's journeys, how they've kind of evolved to where they've gotten, and you've just shared a lot of good points there. And then you have this life coach or this life mentor, and it's so neat because here you guys are life coaches, and you're really helping give back. So it goes without saying, and it's a great example to show that at any level that you're at, you can always help somebody else out, and you always have something to give to somebody.
Yeah, and there's always someone ahead of you, and there's always someone behind you.
Exactly.
And we're all on the same road.
That's what I'm saying. That's life, man, and that's how it's going to be, regardless of where you're at. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I know for myself, and I can easily see it within you guys, is regardless of where we're at right now, you always want to further your being, further your education, and to do better and to be better, and to always, you have to settle with the thought that there's always going to be something else to learn, and you can always do something to make your situation better if you want to. I mean,
or just I think what's so attractive to me about Whitney, and I actually see it in you too. I'm attracted to you too.
Thank you. I'll just do the rest of the conversation with Jake now, Whitney, if you want to. Just kidding.
I've been a teacher. The teacher for 20 years before we started this business, and I coach sports as well. And so in both of those fields, you see a lot of people trying to develop their confidence, how they feel about learning, what's their relationship like with learning, are they jealous of the people that are ahead of them, or how does this process go? And you realize that the healthiest way, that the best way that I can see it, the way that my favorite way to see in someone, my favorite character to see, is that their confidence is not in what they've accomplished. Their confidence is in their willingness to learn. Their confidence in their ability to learn. And so even you just being transparent, I had technical issues on this one, but I'm growing. I'm like, yes, that's the confidence that you're just like, it's tough, and I'm going to be better every time I do it. And then meet her, and she's got this. That's her whole life outlook. That's the foundation of everything that is Whitney. Is that. Yeah, sure, I've been through some tough times, but it's going to be better tomorrow. I'm going to be better. That doesn't deter me. That doesn't hold me back. I'm still going to keep on growing and feel it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, there's no quality about a human that I could be more attracted to.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah, and it's interesting, though, because my journey to get to where – because Jake's the exact same way. Like, he is extremely teachable, he's coachable, and he's a great coach and teacher because he knows what it takes for that certain mindset.
Yeah, that's a good
but
point.
His journey to get there has been hiking 14,000 mountains often, going on these crazy adventures where he could die, and he has to stay in a calm mindset that allows him to make the right decisions, not let fear get the best of him.
Yeah.
Where my journey was a lot about overcoming a codependency on alcohol and using food for comfort and a broken childhood, and that was my mountain that I had to climb.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Many days I would prefer Jake's journey.
Every day.
But
my journey was a blast.
But they're totally different journeys, and we're climbing mountains, so to speak, choosing to climb them, not choosing to stay at the base where it's comfortable.
Yeah.
And the mountaintop experiences, and training for that same mindset, but our journeys don't look anything alike.
Yeah, and that's a great point to make. I mean, you guys can climb whatever mountain it is, physical mountains, actual mountains, or struggles in your life mountains. But everybody's mountains are different, is what you're saying. And everybody's journey is different. And you can, be parallel to each other, kind of like how you guys are, of course, now helping each other out consistently. But still, I mean, yeah, you have a lot of the same goals, but you do have different goals as well, and it's completely fine. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's path's different. But you help each other out with each one,
Well, and the main, you're absolutely right, Chris. And the main reason I just mentioned that comparison, because there was a point in my life when I was in the midst of overcoming. I had not yet overcome codependency on alcohol, or I was 40 pounds overweight, and I was like, man, if I hadn't met Jake, of course, but if I had Jake's upbringing, where he went to a good school and lived on the California beach, and all this to what seemed to me would have been an ideal upbringing, well, man, I would be so much further ahead in life than I am now. And it kept me stuck for a really long time because I would compare my journey so much, and my adversaries weren't my friends. They were my stumbling blocks. Like, poor me. My journey isn't as easy as this person, therefore I'm just going to stay where I'm at because it's not fair.
You feel sorry for yourself almost a little bit, right? And it's kind of like I was saying before, like, and that's life, and there's no other way to put it. Like I said, nobody starts in the same playing field. It's definitely not a level playing field. And whether that's for better or for worse, it doesn't matter, because that's just the way it is. The only thing you can change, or the only decision you can make, is the decision to get better regardless of where you start. And that's tough. That's super tough. And it's really tough to see other people in situations that are farther in life, or in a point in life where you'd like to be, or be, like you said, man, if I had started like that, I would be a million miles ahead of where I'm at now. But honestly, and which you've come to the realization, that doesn't matter either. You just said, all right, well, what's done is done. The life I've already lived, and there's no changing that. But I can change the life I haven't lived yet. So I'm going to put my foot down, and regardless of where I started at, I'm just going to make it better from here on out. Because you got to start somewhere. Because if you didn't start there, then you'd be that much more behind again, right?
Right, totally. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So that's tough. I mean, but here you are now, and that's pretty incredible, and I think that speaks a lot for it. So I want to backpedal again just a little bit. So you guys met each other, and neither of you, well, Jake, you hadn't been drinking, but Whit, you hadn't been drinking for like a year at this point. And of course, I want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing now as well. But so how long have you guys been together now, and how long was it until you guys started Fit Bar? Because you said you were co-founders, co-CEOs. Is that something exclusively just between the two of you all, or is there another person involved in that?
Well, we met 2 years ago, almost exactly, and
married for a year.
Yeah, we've been married for a year and change. And Whitney had actually started Fit Bar before we met.
Okay.
So on our first date, she started describing this concept that she had. And I remember we were hiking on our first date. I was walking behind her, and I'm listening to her, describe this thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love this.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm like, oh, I can't, I'm like, the pieces are coming in place in my mind, and she's talking about the places she's trying to go and how it just seems like, if you could have a community built out of the people that are also chasing the same health goals you are, it launches you, and it would be so fun, and it would be great. And I'm like, she's describing my life. I'm like, this is how I live right now. And what's funny is that so cool. I am obsessed with the concept of team dinner. It's like such a big deal to me. It was like my favorite. When after the game was over, I'm like, we've got to go out and eat. Like we got to go celebrate. We got win, lose, whatever. We got to just go out. And
it really brings you together.
We competed together, and we had this shared experience. And I love to just sit and reminisce and talk about the highs and the lows and whatever happened. So she starts describing Fit Bar, and I think actually on that first date, I'm like, it's like team dinner. You're describing team dinner right now, And she's like, I don't know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't know what team dinner is, but but this is Fit Bar.
Yeah. But what's crazy?
That's so funny.
Telling him I had tried launching Fit Bar twice, 2 different times, and the first time it was a year where I had 2 jobs. I was teaching workout classes in bars in Austin, still drinking, and what I didn't know was my drinking was keeping me stuck, not being able to propel forward. And then the second time, I had gotten an investor, and I was really going at it full time, doing Lyft on the side, and then I had to stop because I wasn't getting the traction. I wasn't meeting my financial projection. So the second time I had to stop, and I had to take a sales job for a tech company. And so when I'm meeting Jake, I had been out of Fit Bar for 6 months, being like, it's never gonna work. Why even bother?
Yeah.
But I just had something inside of me that wouldn't die.
Yeah, you knew you were onto something, obviously. And then you talked about team dinner, and you definitely knew you were onto something.
Telling him, and he's getting so excited. I'm like, really? You think it's a good idea? Because I feel like I've failed miserably many times, and so I genuinely thought, man, maybe he just is a fan of me.
I was.
I think it's okay, and it's safe to say that he probably was a fan of both, and that's totally fine,
Absolutely. I mean, there's no denying I was a fan of hers. But in addition, I was idea of Fit Bar.
Yeah. So when he's like, oh my God, this guy doesn't drink and he's a fan of Fit Bar, I think he's just a yes man and he's saying everything.
I'm just lying.
That's crazy, but of course, I mean, you had failures, and obviously, a lot of people that I've talked to, as well as myself, and like Jake, you were saying, I failed a ton of times already with this project. And I know I'm going to have to edit things out of this conversation already. And there's nothing fine with that, because that's why, I enjoy doing it this way, because it makes it a lot more real and organic, like we were talking about. But Whitney, you, of course, I mean, you fail, and at the end of the time, it sucks. There's no other better way to put it. And you get down on yourself, downtrodden, and you're like, there's no way that I'm going to make it good. And then you have to do all these other miscellaneous job that you probably don't particularly really want to do, And then this is why I want you guys on here again, because you had your failure in Fit Bar the first time. It didn't work for whatever reasons. And then you meet Jake, and you tell Jake about team dinner. And Jake's in love with this idea, and genuinely, again, in love with this idea, thinks it's a great idea. And then it sounds like it reignited that spark that you really needed to get into Fit Bar again. So I love having guests on here that tell me their stories, but why I really wanted to have you guys on here is because you have great individual stories. But right here is a perfect example of why I wanted you on here, is because you failed at Fit Bar, or however you want to call it. But here Jake is, you meet him, another guy that's not drinking. So again, accentuating that strength and that bond that is what you have today. but then he tells you that Fit Bar is a great idea, and sometimes that's all you need to hear, is that what you're doing is a great idea. I know it really helps me with my project, with all my trials and tribulations. So I think it's super, super cool that you said that, Jake. And obviously, again, like I always say, it's so easy to tell the truth. If you hear a good idea, then you're going to be like, that's a good idea. Like, that's a really good idea. I know you kind of failed doing it, but you should do it again. And you know what? I'm here now, so let me help you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was a year ago. Jake quit his job, his teaching career.
Too cool. That was how was that? I mean, you said you did it for 20 years, right? So that's something you obviously enjoyed. I don't think you're going to do something maybe for 20 years that you don't enjoy. You seem, again, you're a very personable person, and you were, I obviously was never a student of yours, but I could tell that I probably would have liked to be a student of yours, because you probably, what did you teach?
I taught math.
You taught math.
High school, yeah. So I taught high school math, everything from Algebra 1 through AP Calculus.
So I take my words back. I probably wouldn't have liked you too much. I wasn't a math guy. It's nothing personal. But no, so you did that. You taught math for 20 years, and then here comes Whitney, who doesn't drink apparently, and she says, I have this idea, and you're like, this is super cool. Let's revamp this. Let's get it going again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I love teaching. I still love teaching. I mean, I love the kids. I love the process. I love learning. I love the whole idea of learning.
Yeah.
You have a lot of coaching when you're teaching because everyone hates math. You spend all your time trying to sell a product that no one wants to buy on a daily basis, and
that makes you good though.
and it's fun to me. I liked it, and when you can hear someone like admit reluctantly, this class was kind of fun, then you're like, it feels good. And so there's a lot of that that's great. However, I also really don't like fear being a governing factor. I spend a lot of time adventuring with the goal of managing my relationship with fear. Not that I'm some adrenaline junkie, I'm actually not. But I'm very fascinated by fear. I think it's really interesting, and I like looking into it.
Definitely plays an important role, yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at this like, man, this is kind of scary. You know, the idea of jumping off, like you're saying, that there's certain jobs have a consistency. They have a paycheck. They have healthcare. They've got, these benefits coming in, a retirement plan, all these pieces. Yeah. And you're saying, nah, I'm just going to throw that out. Maybe we'll make money. Maybe we won't. Yeah. I don't know exactly how we're going to pay the bills. But let's take the ride. Let's go on the journey. And ultimately, I just decided, I'm like, I've done a lot of adventurous things, but nothing like this. And all of a sudden, I started to get a taste for it. Yeah. And I was like, this adventure's in front of me, and this is the teammate I want on my adventure. And I was like, these two things lining up like this, I'm like, let's just go.
Let's go for it.
Hey, how is it going to pan out? I don't really know for sure, but let's go, like you can jump off the cliff and build a plane on the way down, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, that's what you got to do. So many things in my life. I know we were talking before the conversation offline, and kind of what I'm doing in my own personal life right now, and it's exactly that example you gave. You just kind of got to jump and go for it, because I think, at least in my life and in you guys' lives, it was the reward factor was a lot greater than the risk factor. I mean, it's not to say that there's not a lot of risk involved. I mean, you're leaving a 20-year job that was probably frightening for all the right reasons, like you said. Leaving all the benefits, leaving something that you're comfortable with as well, I think is a very important point. Something that is going to be there the next day, and then to leave that all behind and to start something up. But when you believe in it, you guys believed in Fit Bar, and you believed in it very strongly, of course, and then here you are, and you're running something that's very successful. And yes, you were a teacher, and no, you're not a teacher anymore in that manner, but of course you guys are life coaches, and you're helping people out continuously, and it's just a little bit different. Hopefully there's no math, but you're still helping people out.
Yeah.
So you're able to get that
honest,
fix.
What's more scary would be if I were still just going to work on a daily basis, leaving Whitney every day, and thinking, man, what if I could have made a life where we worked together? What if we could have taken FitBar?
That's a scary thought.
Come on.
Yeah.
Every guy's got a little piece of them that wants to be the superhero, and I'm like, man, I have this opportunity to come in, and Whitney's got this dream, and I love it too. And how lucky am I that I get to be in the spot to reignite FitBar in this space where she's like, I don't know, I'm kind of thinking it's not going to be there. And so there's a different kind of fear too that you always have to watch out for, and that's that fear of like, what if I wake up and look at myself in the mirror 5 years ago and say, or 5 years from now, and say, man, why didn't I go? Why was I a wuss when I had my opportunity? And that fear drives me more. I do not want to be that guy.
I think you and I are exactly alike in that manner. There's a lot of things that I've tried in my life, and I may have not ended up following through with them for a ton of reasons, but it would have been a lot tougher, like you said, waking up 5 years down the road and looking back and been like, well, what if? I think that what if is terrifying, and at least if you try it, it's not for you, or that's a really easy way to put it, but
right.
That it wasn't the right plan or it wasn't the right choice, and so be it. But I'd rather have tried it and to not have done it than to never tried it again and then wonder that what if, right? Because that's a pretty scary thought. But here you are. I mean, you did wonder about that what if, but you jumped off your cliff and you left that career behind, and look at what you guys are doing now. It's super incredible.
Yeah, and it also knowing that, having that perspective, and knowing that this isn't some sort of supernatural courage. It's actually fear of what if, and knowing that I'm looking at two pieces. Well, what that offers me in this process right now is gratitude, and exactly like you're saying.
For sure, man. Yes.
Good job. And so now, on the good days, on the bad days, I can just say, oh my gosh. I mean, I get to work with Whitney on a daily basis. We get to try to solve this problem together. That's the key. And that, like we were talking about at the beginning, the positivity, I think a lot of people mistake that for just like positive thinking. Yeah. But it's not. It's a mindset. It's a lifestyle. And it's saying, like, even on the bad days, I'm lucky.
Yeah, and like you just said, the gratitude's huge. Like, the fact that you risked a lot. I mean, you literally risked your career. 20 years isn't just, I worked at this job for a few years. You risked a career that you put a lot of sweat and tears into, and you put that behind you, and then here you are now, and you took that risk, and now you're sitting back and you're like, this is awesome. I'm so glad I took that. And yeah, it may have turned out badly. Maybe FitBar went up, belly up for the second time or third time. But I'm pretty confident when I say this that I think you guys would have continued to try, and you would have found out or would have found what works, and you guys found it quicker than slower, and here you are now. So that feeling of gratitude really comes with that. I know, like we were talking again offline, not trying to get into too much about myself again, but with what I'm doing in my life, I know that I'm trying to set myself up, and when I get those victories, for lack of another word or a better word, you look back and you feel a lot of gratitude with being able to risk everything, and then looking back and saying, hey, I'm glad I did that. Yeah, it was super stressful, super scary, super chock full of fear, like you were talking about fear, but I'm very grateful that I was able to control my mind, to calm myself and rationally talk myself through these experiences, and be able to get to where I am now because of the hard work that I put in there. And of course, FitBar didn't just open up overnight that second time. It took a lot of hard work as well. I wasn't there with you, but I can more than guarantee anity that's listening to this right now that it
taking a lot of hard work. I love your confidence in what we're doing. It helps to hear from an outside perspective that it looks like things are going so well. We're still on a daily basis, kind of like, woo, there's still fear.
But that's what it is, and you guys are running a business, and everybody shouldn't know the craziness that's going on behind, and that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it looks great, and it doesn't matter. Like, of course, it's going to be stressful in the back. Like, I can't, like, again, I'm not a business owner by any means, but I know in the backside when you're working things, it's super stressful. I guess a good example was I did work in a restaurant for a few years, and I do know that everything looks, the waiter brings you, again, your steak. I guess maybe that's why I always do these steak analysis, but so the waiter brings you your steak, it's great, everything looks good, it's plated up all nice, but back in the kitchen, at the back of the house, everybody was yelling at each other, everybody's like throwing the steak onto the plate, like throwing the baked potato.
The third steak that they made.
Exactly, all this craziness is going on, but then like the waiter like brings out your plate and like here's your steak. So that's kind of like, I don't know, again, terrible example, but maybe.
I love that.
But like you come out and everything's all nice on the outside, but yeah, it takes a lot of hard work to make it to that point, and then a lot of continuous work too is another point that you had just said that we best not forget very quickly, that just like we're continuously evolving ourselves physically and mentally, then of course when you're running a business, you can't think like, oh, okay, we've been running a successful business or whatever that means for a year, we're just going to stop and we're going to just do whatever we do right now. No, you are going to continue to learn or want to seek how to better that business and better yourselves, and it's a very mutual relationship between benefiting yourselves. It's going to benefit the company.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want to talk about with you guys is that separate journey, and then journey coming together. There's no other way to put it. It's incredible. You have your individuality, and then you have that mutual relationship that it's really easy for me to say definitely accentuates the other very well. And then I still keep on thinking like it's so cool that Jake came in and he's like, all right, let's do it. Let's get out of this teaching thing and let me come in here and let me help out with FitBar. And here you guys are. Are you guys working on any other projects at all? I mean, obviously FitBar is more than enough of work, I'm sure, but is there anything that you guys are trying to do as well? Because I know, of course, even FitBar requires a lot of work with, maintaining the YouTube pages and any kind of other social media pages with videos and just general content that comes with that. But are there any other like maybe little projects or something that you guys are trying to work on?
The little projects are more where FitBar is going to go. Yeah. And so a lot of it is, us just trying to match up. You're trying to fill customer demand. Like okay, this is what the customer wants, and over here's the lifestyle that we sought out when we jumped off that cliff. We were aiming at some sort of lifestyle, trying to figure out, okay, how can we provide value, and what's that going to look like to merge those two things together. Mm-hmm. And so yes, I mean, we are absolutely project after project after project. Yeah. Actually, the hard part is not getting caught up in all the projects and trying to focus on smaller stuff to do well. But it doesn't feel like a side project. It all feels right down the meat of what FitBar is. Okay. And just trying to define exactly what it's going to look like going forward. I'm
glad I asked that question. And like I said, obviously, I'm not a business owner at this moment in time. Hopefully, eventually, I would be doing something as cool as you guys. But I think that's a good point for anybody that maybe would want to get into a business like what you're doing, or any kind of business in general, is to maybe not focus on a million different things at once. Like, just focus your energy on one thing and make it really good, continuously make it better.
So we're trying to learn.
Yeah, but that's it, man.
Yeah.
What's that?
We're trying to execute that.
Yeah. No.
One thing really well.
Yeah, just keep on doing it. Whatever you guys are doing is working clearly, regardless of how much hectic or madness is going on behind the scenes. Like, obviously, you guys are doing great, and I can easily say this every single time I talk to somebody on here, that as long as you are passionate, you guys are clearly passionate about what you're doing, helping yourselves, helping each other, and helping all of your clients, that you will continue to be successful. So it's really cool, and it's really inspirational to me as well. So there's a multitude of reasons why I do this channel. Of course, for the guests, for anybody that's listening or watching, it's hard to say for somebody to hear this from me right now, but maybe that person that's listening right now isn't with the right person that's really not helping them through their lives. Maybe they are in that circle of friends that's inhibiting them from living a healthier life, like you were saying earlier, Whitney. Maybe they don't have a good set of friends, you name it. So it could be their spouse, it could be their circle of friendship, but the harsh reality of it, if those people in your life aren't helping make you a better person and helping you live the life you want, regardless if that's a better person, but if they're not helping you live the life you want, if you want to better yourselves, then maybe those people shouldn't be in your life. And I think that might be hard, especially when it's a spouse. Like, it's so cool to see you guys. I know my wife, she's extremely supportive of everything I do, and I reciprocate that as much as I possibly can. And I know without that reciprocated, like, it would make everything so much more difficult. So to have you guys on here and I wanted to show a couple. I mean, individually, you guys would make for an absolutely phenomenal podcast as well. But together, there's something very special about that, and be able to show you guys that you can have such a great relationship to help each other grow like that.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah. We like it. I know that it's an incredible feeling to have someone value you.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
like the ideas that you have, the ambition that you have, the things you want to try. To have someone who's like, do it. I like that idea. How can I help?
Yes.
Man, it is a game changer in what life looks like.
Mm-hmm. I would say most of the men that I dated before Jake would always try and make me small.
Mm-hmm.
If they really wanted to keep me small, so that they wouldn't have to worry about, jealousy issues.
How
and
awesome
everything.
she could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you want to do that? Oh man. But
whenever I talk about dreams or inspirations, then it was always like a fear for them that if that was achieved, maybe I would leave them.
Yeah, because you would outgrow them for sure.
Right. And it's one thing that I love so much about Jake, and it's so great that you and Jordyn have that, is that I want him to continue to grow, and I want to continue to grow, and I never ever want to stop him or put a ceiling on who he's made.
Of course. That's a huge point, and that's I'm gonna drive this home too. You need to, and again, this is only my opinion, but I can see it in my relationship. You have to have that strong individuality. However, you also have to be able to assist the other, help the other, push the other, and support the other with whatever they want to do. Like, I know she's venturing out and doing some things of her own that are outside of her safety net, and I am more than pushing her to do that as well, and I fully support that. And then, like, with this channel, she's definitely supporting me and helping me with this, and you have to have that.
Yeah, it's a blessing. We try not to take it for granted, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes you do, but I think that's just human, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, just like it's not all sunshine behind closed doors, a fit bar. Like, it's a lot of hard work that goes on, is what I'm saying. I think as great as relationships are, sometimes you're going to disagree about stuff, and again, that's fine.
Yeah. And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm. And it is a good thing.
All right, cool. So you're saying your wife supports you on the channel. How long has this channel been going, and what's sort of your inspiration, or how did this come about?
So what is it? It's already June. So I've been doing this maybe for 3 or 4 months now, and it's definitely been picking up. I think the first video, it took like a month to get it online, and then until I did my second one, and then it's been going quicker and quicker and quicker. So I guess, I've been doing it for about, maybe 3, 4, at the most 5 months now. This is number 9, and I do have scheduled all the way through, I think, like 11 or 12 just in the next week. So it's like, it's super picking up. So I'm really excited about that. So I guess, why did I start this? I would say, so there's a multitude of reasons, and I'll try to sum it up. Okay. So I love having these conversations in my life, just period. If, unfortunately we're on different sides of the country, but if, we're in the same area, I would love to just go out and grab lunch with you guys and just have a conversation I do it with friends here. I do it with friends at work now. I love having conversations with people, but I specifically love having conversations with people about everything that we've talked about. Yeah. Sometimes I'm gonna have a conversation about whatever you name it, but I love having intellectual conversations, and furthermore, I love having conversations geared towards this positivity and helping grow one's mindset. And so I was having a lot of these conversations at work, And unfortunately, there were some people at my work, that didn't really like what they're doing, to put it nicely. And, people were always complaining and whatever have you. So I'd like to think that I was a mentor for these people and had these conversations with people and talked about all these things that I had already been talking about. I was like, well, why not record it? And it actually all started back when I did the first conversation with my buddy Mike, who's a stock trader. I was like, well, I want to teach people too, so let's talk about stock trading. But I knew I had talked to him before, and he had like a crazy path. Like, he was doing some things that were not really that I want to say here, and he wasn't really proud of them. And we didn't even talk about him. We didn't even talk about him in the first episode. But he overcame that. And then he's like a professional stock trader now, and he's doing great. And now he's like teaching other people. So like a huge shout out to Mike, because I was having these conversations, and then I wanted to, because I run an investment group as well with like 300-400 people on Facebook. And I run that group, and we were talking. I was like, Mike, let's do your podcast. And his podcast went so well. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm trying to do in real life at my work when I talk to people, when I try to mentor people. So I was like, let's keep it rolling. And furthermore, I don't want to just do it about investing, or I don't want to just do it about fitness, or I just don't want to do it about everything. I said, I'm going to take guests from any kind of background, any genre, you name it. And I want to see like kind of how they got to where they're going, and how they're dealing with what they're working on right now, how they continue to deal with that, how are they working on that, how they're going to better themselves physically, mentally, you name it. And then furthermore, I always want to accentuate the point that how they're going to help others, how they're going to give back.
Cool.
That's awesome. So that's good to know that it wasn't like a event that happened. It was just you being who you are that inspired real genuine conversations, and you wanted to bring it online.
Yeah, it may have been. When you say an event, I mean, it was an accumulation of probably the last, my life, obviously. My entire life has a huge portion of everything that I've experienced. I think a lot of my job in the last 9 years have had a lot to do with it as well. A lot of the experiences I've gone through made me appreciate literally being alive, and the things I'm doing right now, and thankful for my family, my wife and my dog for right now. And I'm very thankful for that as much as I can, and my extended family and my in-laws and everything like that, and I never take it for granted. And I came to the point, the realization that I really want to teach others, or at least show others, that they can have these thoughts as well. And that, that negativity, you're going to have it, that fear, you're going to have it, but there's light on the other side. And I don't know, a lot of people say, well,
it doesn't be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, a lot of people say, well, you're not going to do something you love. But like, people are lucky if they find something they love. Well, I disagree with them. I may or may not like my job right now, but I'm changing it. And I'm also doing this on the side, and I'd be lucky enough if I could do this professionally, which might take 5 years, but you know what? I have 5 years to do it, and I'll do something else on the side. And it's totally fine with that. And I just want, ultimately, life is entirely way too short. And yes, that's cliche. Yes, everybody says that, but it's the damn truth. And life just flashes by, and you need to be very thankful for the days that you're living and the days you have. Like, how many times do I ask somebody, like, what kind of day they're having, and they're like, oh, I'm alive, and I'm like, you should be thankful that you're alive. You should be so lucky that you're alive.
Tired. I'm tired.
Pardon me, I'm still getting over like a 2-week sickness here. So, but yeah, and I'm like, I was honestly, and I was sick and tired of hearing people saying like, well, I'm alive, or I'm here. Like, dude, I'm just,
there's gotta be more.
There's more to that. If you don't like your situation, change it. Like we were saying earlier, like everybody's dealt a different deck of cards. I get it, or a different hand of cards from that deck of life, and how you play those cards, like poker, right? It doesn't matter what the cards you have, really. It's how you play them. So what I mean by that is you can consciously make the decision every day to go into work and have a positive mindset. And I really wish, I'll have to Google it, I wish I knew the story, but there was a story I read, a blog, whatever you have it, that I listened to. This guy was working at like McDonald's, and he hated his life, and McDonald's always comes up, but there's nothing wrong with it. However, he didn't like the fact that he was working at McDonald's, and he was grumpy about it, bad, pessimistic kind of guy. But one day he woke up and he said, screw that, I'm not going to be that anymore. And he went to work and he worked his ass off and he was super positive, and he ended up getting promoted a few times. He became manager of this joint that he was working at, and then he got so far to where he ended up being a franchise owner, and now he owns like multiple McDonald's, all because one day he woke up and he decided to be positive, and that just one thing led to the other and led to the other, and it was that huge snowball effect again. And and it didn't happen overnight. It took years and years and years, but because he had that positive attitude, like, hey, I'm here, I'm working here, I might as well be happy about it, might as well be positive. And then he was not just the burger flipper, he was the cash register guy, and then he was the manager, and then now he is where he is. And that story hit home for me. So to answer your question, guys, it's an accumulation of events over my entire life, but more so I'd say in my 20s, when I was doing the drinking more heavily in my early 20s to even in my mid 20s, and then slowly peeling out of that, like you said earlier, Whit, like it's a process. It's a serious process, and people need to realize that it's a process and it's not going to happen overnight, whether it's working out, whether it's working on your mental health, and whether, again, if it's helping people give back. So the accumulation of all these things, me having conversations with people in real life, and then having the conversation with Mike about stocks, was like, I think I'm onto something. Like you guys were talking about FitBar, I think I'm onto something here, and I really enjoy it, and I want to give people real life examples, because not everybody knows you guys, not everybody knows Nate or whoever I talk to, or Mary, or nobody knows these people, at least in my friend circle, I should say. Like I was trying to say, I want to interconnect everybody. So if I can share your guys' story to other people and help them, then that's what I want to do, and that's a huge part of this channel. And I want to share everybody's story, and I just want to disseminate the information and give people real life examples that other people are going out there and doing it. So when they hear like Whitney struggled with this alcohol abuse, and you said you were overweight, and then Jake left behind his 20-year career to start something new. Like, some people just see like, this is Jake and Whitney, and they own FitBar, and it looks really good from the outside, and there's nothing wrong with it, period. However, Whitney struggled through things for years. Jake left a huge career. I mean, that's a huge career move to leave all that behind. Very, very scary choice to make. And then you guys both left that, found each other, and you're doing this now, and you're absolutely crushing it. And that's an example, and that's what exactly this show is about. I hope that answers your question.
We love it.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's so cool. Like you were saying, we live on opposite sides of the country. I guess we're in the middle. I think of myself as in California still.
Yeah.
But that just we're having this conversation is a cool side effect. And I know that not everyone who sees the videos is going to, want to be able to talk to you one-on-one like this. Yeah. But it's really cool for me because, I've seen your stuff on Instagram, and I've watched your channel a bit, to just be, like you're saying, eye to eye, having a conversation, sharing thoughts, having the stuff go out there.
There's nothing like it.
It's just a crazy, like, we're doing it right now. You're doing it. You had this idea for a channel, and here we are having this conversation with someone who's in Texas that you've never met before this Skype call started. Yeah. It's pretty just to see it coming to real life.
No, it's super cool. And just like you guys get a lot of good feedback, like, you're like, oh man, you're so nice, I'm giving you feedback. I'm like, well, I'm just giving you good feedback, but other people are giving me good feedback. You guys have given me great feedback. And of course, there's going to be a little bit of negativity out there. I think there always is. However, the overwhelming majority is good feedback. And people are like, I want to be on there. I want to tell my story. And I was like, hell, I want to tell your story. That's the exact story I want to tell. And it's awesome. Like I said, it's from all these different little sectors, all these different genres of people. And I think that's the beauty of it. And hopefully, maybe this episode won't be for somebody, and that's totally fine. Like, we're all different. Maybe, the previous 8 episodes weren't for somebody, but, I think the fact that the reason why I want to do all these different cultures and all these different jobs and whatever have you is because hopefully it'll inspire somebody to be able to like and do that too. And I don't have to live this kind of life because I don't like the life I'm living, or I'm going to have the courage to, break up with this person maybe, or I'm going to have a courage to leave this circle of friends and really pursue my passion. So you guys are doing it. You did it. You're doing it. You're going to continue to do it. You're going to continue to teach people to do it. And I'm trying to do that too. And again, I having you guys on here was such a prime example of that. Such a cool example. So cool to have a couple on here, 2 people. And I can't thank you guys enough for being on here. It's too cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.
It's our pleasure. It's so fun to get to know you.
We're excited to see your future podcast, the 50th and the 100th, and so on.
I know. It seems so far away, but here we are knocking on the doorsteps of number 10 already, and I know one was just. It's been such a struggle. So thank you so much. And I tell everybody this at the end of my show, and I, again, wholeheartedly mean this, that thank you so much. And I do want to have you on at a much later on point. I don't know when I'm going to start repeating them, but it's at least going to be months down the road, maybe a year down the road. And I always want to rehash everything out and talk again.
That sounds awesome.
Let's do one in person when we go surf in Virginia.
Yes, please. You guys hit me up. We'll have a place to stay and we'll hang out, and that'll be great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right.
Sounds good, Chris.
Jake, Whitney, thank you so much. We'll talk soon. Have a great rest of your day.
All right.
You too. Bye,
See
Chris.
ya.